ensure transparency and accountability throughout the redevelopment process. DEMPED is hopeful that by understanding the priorities of the community, we will be able to find a private partner to deliver a project that incorporates the vision that we set out in the solicitation and then contributes positively to the community and the district as a whole. So our RFP was piloted on Parcel 42, which you know is a very centrally located site. It's a vacant lot across the street. Many of you have seen it, been there before, and then of course we're going to take a walk there afterwards. It's in ANC 6E in Ward 6, and the unique location is not just in Ward 6, but is very near Wards 1, 2, and 5, which made it a major factor for selecting this for the pilot process. The number of ANCs and wards actually affected by the redevelopment of this site warranted a broader community dialogue. So a little more detail on the site. We have two parcels that comprise the RFP. The first one, lot 106, is basically a rectangular parcel with about 15,000 square feet approximately. And then the smaller one, rectangular parcel, is triangular parcel, is lot 803, which is just next to it, and they're bisected by an alley, which goes out onto Rhode Island Avenue. So the key element of the RFP process is that DEMPED solicited community input prior to releasing this parcel for bid. The public input was obtained through a series of public engagements and was considered alongside the district's regulatory requirements, the district's priorities, and the market viability of all of these things when we developed the RFP. Our goal was to incorporate as many of the community's desires as possible while keeping it flexible enough for the development community to be able to propose creative solutions for incorporating the community's priorities and still develop a commercially viable development. Upfront public involvement also helps clarify for the development industry, since you're better able to estimate costs and risks associated with a project and decide if the RFP is appropriate for you to respond to. After issuing the RFP, the public will have a few additional opportunities to provide us with comments and feedback. For instance, they're going to be able to respond to, once we have developers provide their proposals, we'll have presentations to the community where the community will provide their feedback on those presentations and on the projects proposed. And then also there's the added element of the council hearings and the public engagement there as well. So some of the engagements we had in the past few months, this was over the summer, we started with a workshop, a public workshop on June 13th at the Howard Theater. It was well attended. We had 67 people come, and we had some really great discussions at facilitated tables. We had great help from the Office of Planning in planning and executing this workshop, as well as an online engagement forum, which pretty much asks similar questions of the community so we can get sort of the kind of universe of what they wanted for the site. And then at a follow-up meeting on July 28th, we asked them to further hone some of their preferences to see what their sort of highest priorities were for the site. And then we were able to incorporate those into the RFP. So to go over some of the preferences that the community listed, and these are in the RFP, there's a special section for the RFP process and some of the community feedback we received. We heard a variety of responses, but the three main things that were always consistent that are a minimum for responding to the RFP are that any design should be high quality, innovative architecture that establishes a signature gateway. So we heard from the community that this library is very, very important, an iconic piece of the neighborhood, and they really wanted to mirror it and make sure there was a kind of a conversation between the two buildings. Also, there was a desire for the retail mix to include both neighborhood serving elements and destination retail. Those were both very popular, and we heard a lot of different types of uses that could be incorporated. So we asked that you be creative in developing your retail strategy and what your proposals would be. Additionally, we would like you to encourage pedestrian activity through vibrant streetscapes, sustainable landscaping in the surrounding public space. So as you know, there's a big wide sidewalk just in front of the site on our street. And we really, we want you to use that space to its fullest and really provide a creative solution for how to activate it, how to make it a really great place for the community. You should also make best efforts to provide the other items. So we would like to see how much affordability you can have in the building. As you know, there are baseline requirements I'll go over in a second. But if there's any way to have additional affordability at a variety of income levels, we want to see that. Also, the community was very, wanted some type of public accessible space and felt that lot 803, which is the small triangular parcel, that's a little bit harder to program, would maybe be the best place for that type of public space. So that's another item to look at. And then also, we have someone from DOAE here today, and we would like you to look at how to exceed the green building requirements. I'll talk a little bit more about what the baseline is, but that is one of the things that the community was also felt strongly about, that we should have very sustainable buildings and really think about things like stormwater management and kind of the longevity of our buildings and structures. And finally, we heard a lot of support for local hiring and business opportunities, not just sort of the CBE program, but also for Shaw-specific neighborhood, whether they're businesses that are existing in the neighborhood or residents in terms of filling jobs. So some of the district goals and requirements, these are some of the baselines that we put in our RFPs, because a lot of them are legal requirements, and otherwise sometimes exceeding them are our policy requirements as well. So first and foremost, the district wants to see an economically viable project. We want you to really think through what you can deliver and make sure that whatever you're proposing to us is a viable project. As you know, this project has gone through a couple RFP phases, and this is very high on our list to make sure that you're delivering something that can get built and get built in a reasonable time frame. Additionally, we want to make sure you're being consistent with the comp plan, the comprehensive plan. Any questions about that, you can speak to OP, who's here today. And then that all public space design meets DDOT requirements, and DDOT was very specific also about stating that site access should be only through the alley. So that's just so you know, that's a baseline requirement as well. Additionally, the inclusionary zoning and the requirements of the disposition of district land for affordable housing amendment act of 2014 apply to this site. So there are baseline affordable housing requirements, and if you're aware of the new law which applies to district dispositions, that means this property, because of its proximity to the metro, requires at least 30% of the units to be affordable. And the levels of AMI are different based on whether it's a rental or condo project. And I'm happy to answer more questions about that at the end of the presentation if you have them written down in your cards. And then also, again, the district also feels that exceeding green building requirements would be a really great benefit to the district. And so we're going to have a bit of a presentation on how you can do that and how you can look at incorporating additional green techniques, strategies toward the end of the presentation. And then, of course, you have to fulfill the first source CBE and any applicable hiring requirements. If there's a hotel, any Davis Bacon requirements that might be triggered. So all that are the baseline district requirements. Oh, so let me actually go ahead and bring up Jay Wilson from the Department of Energy and the Environment to talk to you more about green building.
Thanks, Emma. Hey everybody, my name is Jay Wilson. I work in the Urban Sustainability Administration at the Department of Energy and Environment. And so one of the things that's come up a couple of times during this presentation are the green building requirements. We wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about what those are and what you need to do, and then what you could do to exceed those green building requirements. So sustainability is not just something that we see as additive to the design process. We see sustainability and sustainable buildings as a lens that you can look at the entire process, at the entire design process, and incorporate that throughout the design. The district already has very innovative and progressive green building legislature and building codes, and those are the minimum requirements that every project is going to have to meet. So because of the public funding for this project, you'll have to meet the Green Building Act requirements, which means for non-residential projects, that's a LEED Silver certification, and that will be in the LEED 4 requirements, LEED version 4. And then residential buildings over 10,000 square feet need to meet Enterprise Green Communities, and that's Enterprise Green Communities 2015. Also, projects need to meet the DC Green Construction Code, There are ways that you can meet that by meeting the construction code in Appendix A. That gets reviewed by DCRA and regulated during the building permit process. And there are 4 alternative pathways that can be used for compliance. 3 that are applicable to this project would be meeting ASHRAE 189.1, 2011, Enterprise Green Communities, and LEED certified level or higher. Because you're meeting the Green Building Act, you're already going to exceed that if you choose to certify the project with LEED. So projects are also all required to meet the 2012 International Energy Conservation Code. All of the codes are available on DCRA's website. Links to those codes with the DC amendments are available online for free. Very easy to see all of those. I should also mention that the industry is caught up, and so LEED within the district is something that's well accepted. About 70% of the LEED certified square footage of the building is already gold or platinum, and so it's a business decision as well. LEED doesn't have to just be touchy-feely environmental, but it's good for the bottom line in the pocketbook, which is why we talk about some additional considerations for your project. Certainly, sustainability is not the only lens that we're going to evaluate these projects on. But preference may be given to projects that increase the commitment to sustainability. DC has the best financials in the country for solar energy, and there are a lot of advantages to incorporate well beyond the baseline stormwater retention requirements and other green building requirements for a quick return on investment. Some of the options to go beyond the green building requirements are LEED at the gold certification level or higher, deep energy efficiency, net zero energy ready, so an EUI of about 30, 35 or below, living building challenge certification or PEDAL certification, which would be net zero energy, water, or waste, and stormwater retention exceeding our stormwater management requirements. So going beyond a 1.2-inch retention requirement to up to a 1.7-inch requirement. There are additional links in the RFP that link to resources for all of these. And if you have any questions, my information is also included in the RFP. So that's all. I'll turn it back over to Anna, and we can address questions at the end of the presentation.
These are the deeper reasons that Jay was talking about, and fun to write anything down. But I would follow up with him because Jay's a really great resource and very helpful. So a little bit about the solicitation timeline. There was a small typo on the RFP. Thank you for putting that out. The solicitations will be due January 8th, 2016, so they were not due in 2015. And then DevHUD will convene a selection panel to go over the presentations. We're going to have presentations to the community so they can weigh in on how they, which ones they like and what elements they like, which developers they support, and then we're going to be able to do our internal review and then provide a best and final offer if that's appropriate. So we're going to decide at that time whether we will be doing a best and final offer, but if we do, we'll let everyone know, whoever placed the bid. And then we hope to select the development team in the spring of 2016, and then do all of our negotiating of the documents, and then hopefully go to council in the fall. That's our hope, and that we feel is a doable timeline. But if you see anything in there that you think is problematic, please do put that in your proposal if you think that that's not something you can comply with. But that is our goal. And of course, you see the little asterisks. We're going to try to meet those deadlines at the end, but of course they're subject to change. So if you could raise your hand, and the purpose of this, so they're going to pass out some note cards, the DevHUD staff in the back. The purpose of this is because I want to make sure that everyone gets the same information. So if you write down your question, then I can put it on the website and everyone gets the benefit of that question afterwards, especially if they weren't able to make it. So raise your hand if you want to note card. Was I that thorough? Amazing. Okay, let's see Alex one once. you want to just ask, actually?
Sure, I can. First one is, will the presentation to ANC 6E take place at the same time as the community presentation?
That was the intention, but we can talk more about that, later on, to see if that's the best way to do it. And again, just restating, this is a pilot process, so a lot of the community engagement, we've been trying to figure out kind of the best way to do this, and we're trying it on this, and then also on the Carmel School. We're just trying to find the best way to engage the community, make sure they're involved throughout the process, and make sure that we get that transparency and accountability from the community. Anything else?